Rev up your engines! All right, today we got a real-world example about the oil dilution on Hondas. This is a Honda, and it has the 1.5 turbo that was notorious for oil dilution. This guy now is not getting any oil dilution. How did it happen? Well, he listened to me. Now, people were all complaining about, especially in cold climates. This one's lived in Massachusetts from new. It has over 100,000 miles, yet it burns no oil, and it no longer has an oil dilution problem. Now, the cap says to use 0W20, and they can have oil dilution problems with that. Here's his paperwork. But I advise in changing it every 5,000 miles, but when you use the 0W20 oil, as you can see here on the fuel percentage, it has 1.3% dilution. So luckily for him, he watched my video about using the new 0W16 oil that's made especially for these engines. He takes care of his vehicles. He still changes it every 5. He doesn't push it to 10,000 miles. Half of it is pushing it too long, and you start to get wear on the turbos. You start to get wear on the pistons. He still changes it every 5. But he switched to 0W16, and check out what happened. This is a well-known company, Blackstone Labs Oil Report. Now here's what happened when he used 020. We'll go down to the fuel dilution, and it says TR, just a trace. Hardly any. When he was using the 0W20 oil, it was 1.3. Any car with 100,000 miles is going to have a little trace of oil dilution. That's just going to happen. It almost went completely away just by using that 0W16 oil. It does work. I agree with him though. I still would change it every 5. I wouldn't push it to 10. You know, these guys say, you can leave it and make it to 10. Yeah, and then your engine's going to wear out faster. The dirtier the oil, the more it's going to wear. 5,000 miles is still pretty clean. Change it then, and you'll find out a car like this that was notorious for oil dilution. This one lives in Massachusetts where it gets cold. Will have virtually none using that oil and changing it correctly. We'll start it up and listen to the engine. Tad bit of shake. These little engines have a little bit of a shake. You can't stop that. Now, you can hear a little bit of valve noise. He has 100,000, and he was a bad boy. He's never had the valves adjusted, so he should get the valves adjusted to make it perfect. Now, I've seen these things with 200,000 miles. They're still running, but they're making a lot more noise than this. Noise is friction. You don't want it, so, it's a good idea to get your valves adjusted on these things. Probably every 60, 70,000 miles. It's not that big of a deal to have it done. But if you don't do it over time, you're going to get more wear. Why wear an engine that it is small, so it gets a lot of strain? You want to keep it in really good shape. Nothing outrageous, but it will sound a lot better once you adjust the valves. So don't always believe what some people may tell you. You have to get the proof from actual people with actual cars like this. And yes, if he would have continued to use the 0W20 oil, it probably would have had a serious dilution problem over the ages. But he didn't. He got the 0W16, and you can see the oil dilution is almost nothing, just a small trace. Listen to what I got to say sometimes. I'm not making this stuff up. But here's actual proof, in case you think I'm making everything up. Here's a guy who had it analyzed, proving that it does work. He loves this vehicle. He actually gets better gas mileage than it's rated for. Sometimes he gets 33, 34 miles a gallon on the highway. Don't change it every 10,000 miles or 12,000 miles. That's when the wear occurs. Even the oil guys told him. He said, once you get over 5,000 miles, you're going to start to get turbo wear. Turbocharged engine. Turbochargers cost an awful lot of money. But realize, Honda's been making turbocharged engines for an awful long time. They started with their Acuras. I've seen those early Acura turbos, even today, with 180,000 miles. They still run strong. They still don't burn oil if the customer changed the oil every 5,000 miles. Conversely, I've had customers that would change it every 10, 12, 14,000 miles. Those all burn oil. You gotta take care of your engine. And yeah, it is a typical Honda otherwise. It's got 103,000 miles on it, and everything's pretty much original. He hasn't had any problems other than changing the oil and stuff. Believe it or not, it's still got the original brake pads on it, and there's still quite a bit left, but he's going to anesthesiology school in Florida, and there's a homeowners association where he's going to live, and you can't work on your cars there. So even though there's still a lot of brake pads left, he's going to change the brake pads before he goes to Florida because they won't let him work on cars there. And believe it or not, the fan belt's still the original one, and it's not even cracked, but I'm going to tell him to change it anyways because he can't change it when he's in Florida, and what the heck. He's got 5 years and 103,000 miles on that belt. What the heck? Change it now. Then don't think about it for another 100,000 miles. That's always safe. It probably would last a lot longer, but he can't work on it down there. I even changed the fan belt in my Matrix when I went from Tennessee to Rhode Island. I thought, geez, this thing's been on there for like 8 years. I might as well change the stupid thing. A little preventive maintenance can go a long way. But you can see hardly anything's been changed in this car. Not even the brake pads, and it's still working fine. We'll start it up. Of course, being a Honda, look at all those cool gauges. We're gonna turn econ mode off so we can go a little faster. It's got a decent backup camera. Now it is a Massachusetts car, so I got a hot rear end because the heated seat is on. And it works great. As you can see here, he's presently averaging 33.5 miles per gallon. And it may be a little 1.5 liter engine, but you step on the gas, you can hear that Honda engine go. Honda knows how to make engines. Realize Honda's the #1 maker of internal combustion engines in the world. You see them on lawnmowers, tractors, pressure washers, cars, trucks, you name it. They know how to make engines. The 100,000 miles on it, you could have fooled me. Doesn't seem to run any different than a brand new one from my experience. So you got a great running car, 103,000 miles, doesn't burn any oil, and really does not have oil dilution problems. Don't be scared if you're looking at one of these, but on the other hand, if you are looking at a used one, it would really pay you. Do an oil dilution check on a sample of the oil. You can easily get a pump. You could suck it out of the oil dipstick and then send it to one of these companies. A lot of them offer a 24-hour turnaround. And you can see, because if it is oil dilution, you don't want to buy the vehicle. But if it's taken care of like this, and of course, if you already own one and you made the mistake of running 020 oil on all the time, stop right now. Put the 0W16, the new oil. And he used the one that isn't backwards compatible, so it doesn't matter if you're putting it in a modern car like this, because it was made for 020 and the 016 is perfectly fine for you. Even Honda's telling you, that's what you should use. And it doesn't really matter who you're buying it from as long as it's 0W16. There's a lot of companies that make it. It's more a process than anything else. It isn't like, Mobil 1's got the secret and they're the only ones that can make it. No, all the companies can make it. Just make sure that's what you're using if you got one of these. It will be worth your while. And like I said earlier, don't think, I'm going to change it every 10, 12,000 miles. No, change it every 5. Do it yourself so you know you're doing it right. Everybody says they have problems. Does this one have a problem? No. So if you take care of it like his, you're not going to have a problem either. Now you might think it's a little bit Honda. How safe it is? Well, a guy ran a red light, smashed his car all up. You couldn't even tell by driving or look at it, but here's what happened. You can see it got whacked up pretty good here, but you'd never know. Look at it now. I can't tell by driving it, braking it, cornering it. So if you're wise like me, don't worry about oil dilution in these Honda engines. Use the 0W16 oil, change it every 5,000 miles, and you'll be a happy man like he is. And here's some bonus questions and answers. All right, there's a lawsuit. Nissan has just settled a CVT lawsuit. Of course, they didn't admit any wrongdoings, but they want to, get it out of the way. It covers a bunch of 2014 to 18 Nissan vehicles. These CVT transmissions didn't work right. But here's the kicker, and this is how screwed up our society has become. There were 10 plaintiffs. They won this class action lawsuit. They didn't really win because it was a settlement. They didn't want to go to court, right? 10 of them. They're each going to probably get $5,000 a piece, it says. But get this, the attorneys that represent them are going to get $6.2 million, and the 10 people get $5,000 a piece. This is what's wrong with our society. Nissan doesn't admit, we did no wrongdoings, but we'll give you some money here. What does the money go to? Lawyers. And of course, there's all kinds of disclaimers on it. If you had your CVT fixed, they will reimburse you up to $5,000 if you can show proof of this and that. They're giving you $1,000 if you don't do that. $1,000 towards the purchase of another Nissan. All right, who'd be dumb enough to buy another one? They screwed you over with a bad CVT transmission. Now they're going to give you $1,000 credit for buying another one? These judgments are too much. What are these backroom boys doing at these things? Oh, well, who cares about the people? The lawyers got their $6.2 million, and Nissan says they're off the hook now because they decided to settle it. One of the agreements they came to is if you had 2 or more replacements of torque converter parts or transmission work done, then that's when they give you the $1,000 voucher towards the purchase of another one of these pieces of crap. It just amazes me. The lawyers get $6.2 million. The people get $5,000 each. There's 10 of them that started the original suit. It's just too much. It's too much for me, Take Scotty's advice. You buy a car. You don't want to get involved in lawyers and the legal system because the only people that make money out of that are the lawyers. Don't buy a Nissan in the first place, and you don't have to worry about all this hoopla. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.